am a rape victim from Florida Tech that recently found out my rape was never reported in a federally required report. I'm the third victim to speak out, and the only rape victim that's allowed my name to be publicized. My school paper has written multiple articles about the scandal, and it's gone on to be picked up by Florida Today and Fox 35 Orlando. Is there anything more you'd like to know? Took off my ID, was brought to my attention. My info wasn't actually covered. We'll re-upload as proof after work. Thank you all for your support. My fiancé told me this would probably be overlooked, and we are both so glad he was wrong. I've been trying to respond to every comment, and if you feel I've overlooked you, I promise I'm trying to go through all of them. So many of you have offered so much support. It's overwhelming. I'm going to share this thread with all the other victims that have come forward as well as those I know that have not, as I want all of us to feel the love you guys have provided. We have the power to make change. Ask me anything.
How did you react to finding out that your doctor was required to report the incident to the police and you only had 24 hours to tell your parents? Because that sounds horrifying.
Honestly, I cried the entire 45-minute drive to my parents. I was pissed.
That just seems like a breach of the expected confidential nature of a doctor-patient relationship. It should have been your choice to report it. Things like this could lead to people not going to the doctor after an assault.
I've never been mad at her. She didn't realize I was underage until it was too late. She should have looked at my file sooner. Yes, it was a small mistake with big consequences. She tried to get out of it. She called lawyers she knew and tried to find a loophole. Her hands were tied. I appreciate your comment. And I appreciate her. She made sure I never felt alone through the entire process. She's a great person. Small mistake.
I know this is likely to get drowned out, but I highly recommend you read Rachel Denhollander's book, What is a Girl Worth? My story of breaking the silence and exposing the truth about Larry Nassar and USA Gymnastics. It's an incredible book, and I think it can also help you feel stronger in the face of what's to come.
I'm at work, so I screenshotted your comment. I'll find the book when I get out of here. Thank you.
Really interested to know what you'd like other people to understand or be aware of regarding this situation. What would you like other people to know, and what would help you for other people to communicate back to you that they know?
I want people to be aware what Florida Tech did. This isn't an oversight. This isn't an error in date. This is a blatant disregard for victims of rape on campus. They'd much rather act like we don't exist. Pretend they're a safe school. There should be outrage and demand for a change. Personally, I've wanted the Title IX coordinators to be fired and the president to step down. Title IX coordinator was reassigned, which, while shitty, is a change. Now McKay should leave.
What does the service dog do for you?
I have PTSD, which causes flashbacks, night terrors, panic attacks, the works. He's currently in training, so he's not fully ready for public access, but he's learning deep pressure therapy to get me out of attacks. I tend to space out and have flashbacks, so we're working on nudging, stepping on me, hitting my hand, head on face, to get me to come back to reality. We wanted to do something to help with the nightmares, like nudging me to wake up, but he's a deeper sleeper than I am, so that was scrapped real fast, lol.
Important question. Is the school required to report any alleged crime or only all proven crimes?
I've been told by someone who's been reading through the Clery Act for a year now that it's prosecuted crimes, unprosecuted crimes, and unfounded crimes. Everything.
I live right around the corner from Florida Tech. I had no idea that this was going on. I'm so incredibly sorry that this happened to you. Is there anything I can do, as a member of the community, to help you and the other victims? Edit. When I was in college, something similar happened on my campus. There were significant protests, letter-writing campaigns, sit-ins, etc. I know that there's power in numbers and that creating awareness is a huge part of it, which is where my question is coming from.
People like you are why I shared all of this. I want the community to know, share with others, create outrage. While I want Florida Tech to pay, financially and socially, for their negligence, I mostly want to keep parents informed. They need to know what they're sending their kid to.
What do you think gave you the strength to come forward, both in general and publicly? I mean, I've heard of too many cases that go unmentioned, or at least aren't not to authorities. I'm curious if you think it was just your personality, a support system you have in place, or whatever it may be.
Definitely my support system. After knowing my parents had my back and meeting my now fiancé, I feel so much stronger. They're my rock and I couldn't do this without them.
Is it too late to press charges against your rapist? Would you even want to if it isn't too late?
As far as I know, it's too late. The police told me I had 1 year and that time is up. I'm going to do my own research soon. I'd strongly consider it, although I'm sure it wouldn't amount to much. I have no physical proof as I didn't do a rape kit. I was scared and wanted to act like nothing happened so I wouldn't have to tell my parents.
Does the rapist know that he raped you if you didn't realize it yourself for several months? Was he a stranger or a friend? Did you communicate with them afterwards? Thank you. By the way, this post is brave.
I really don't know if he knows. He only texted me once after the rape and that was to ask me to sleep with his friend. I told him he was disgusting and he never texted me again. He was a stranger. We'd met that day.
Why did you pick such a username?
I've said it multiple times and boy I'll gladly say it again, lol. The name started when I was 15. I used a variation on League of Legends and it stuck with me. I genuinely enjoy the name and I think it's funny.
I'm sorry this happened to you. What made you settle on that username?
I've been waiting for the username questions, lol. When I was 15 I made a League of Legends account, and all my usual usernames were taken. So I decided on a variation of this one. It's been my go-to ever since.
Does this have anything to do with the guy who did an AMA the other day talking about Florida big shock deputies not filing rapes?
That was in Tampa, across the state. Unrelated.
A fine? There is so much more to be done.
There's a detailed post on my page. It took me weeks, not months. I always thought of rape as a stranger jumping out of a bush or holding a weapon to a girl's head. We'd had a nice night. I wanted to sleep with him. But then it got really out of hand. I couldn't comprehend why he'd want to hurt me when I was already interested in him. What was the point?
How much, if any, therapy have you gone through? Has it helped? Are you suffering from PTSD?
I've been diagnosed with PTSD. Currently, I'm taking 20 milligrams of Paxil daily for it and have Xanax on hand for when I need it, although I try to avoid it when possible, as I hate how Xanax makes me feel. I went into CAPS, the counseling service offered at my school, the day I reported my rape to my doctor. All they went over was coping skills listed on a paper they hand out to everyone and made a plan in case I seriously thought I'd attempt suicide. I dealt with suicidal thoughts for weeks but could never see myself actually following through. I hated it. I went to a psychiatrist that had his own practice and visited the school often, and he's the one that messed with my meds until I stopped wanting to die. I took a break from February 2019 to October 2019 from counseling. I should not have done that. My grades slipped. I stopped eating as much as possible. My now fiancé would sneak into my dorm and either bring me food or get me to go out with him, and honestly, I just got really mad at everything. I started seeing a new psychologist, and she's absolutely wonderful. I see improvements that I've needed for a while now. However, I will be seeking a new psychologist soon as it's over an hour drive to get to her. And I can't handle the long drives anymore since I was in 2 accidents recently. While they weren't my fault, they messed up my head, and the drive makes me nauseous. I definitely still need help and still want the help.
I'm very sorry. I know words can't help in times like these, but I still offer my condolences. I hope things get better for you. Has the perpetrator been brought to justice?
As I was 17, I didn't want to press charges. I waited a couple weeks to go to my doctor. I only went because the anxiety of STDs was consuming every minute of my day. I asked if she had to report if I told her something happened, and she said no. I spilled the beans, and then she looked at my chart and saw my age. I was about a week away from my 18th birthday. She had to tell. She gave me a day to tell my parents so the cops wouldn't. I didn't want them to know. I thought my dad would be mad. He wasn't. After being forced to tell my parents, all I could think about was his mom. He was from up north, over 1,000 miles away. I thought about her getting that call, that her college freshman had been arrested for rape. I couldn't handle it. If I'd had the maturity and the knowledge I do now, I would have pressed charges. But I didn't. Legally, I was still a kid. I only had a year to change my mind, and all I wanted to do was forget. Not pressing charges may be one of my biggest regrets. Although there's some form of justice. I've told everyone I know at our school his name. I won't post it online since there's absolutely no proof to back up my claim, and it can be considered slander. But I've told a lot of people and told them they can tell others. I want to make sure he doesn't hurt another girl. I'm a very social person, and I get on well with a lot of students. I haven't been shy about telling my story and asking them to warn others. One guy on the road team offered to handle it for me. While I love vigilante justice, I felt that was too far, as he could punt him across campus without trying. I'm going to continue to speak to other students and let them know who raped me so they can protect themselves and their friends' friends. It's all I can do to him now.